Welcome back to another edition of the Cage Sessions. I'm your host, Cage. Joining with me today is UFC light heavyweight contender Tanner the Bulldozer Boser. How's it going, Tanner?
Going pretty good, man. Feels weird to hear light heavyweight out loud.
I know. As everybody knows, he is former contender at the heavyweight division. He has decided to move down to light heavyweight. I know the last time he fought at that is in 2014, if I believe is correct.
Yeah, I had one fight at light heavyweight. That's correct, in 2014. I had a couple catchweight fights early in my career with some guys that were around there. I think I had one at 215 because I had taken it short notice, and I had one at 225. Besides those two, yeah, I only had one official one at the light heavyweight limit.
What made you decide to make the move down to light heavyweight? I know it isn't too bad of a weight cut since in your last fight, I believe you were at 225 at weigh-ins. Was there any specific reason why?
I think I was 229 at weigh-ins or 227, okay. But yeah, I just want a fresh look, I guess. Yeah. It's more to me about optics and trying something new that than it is, I guess, important to me in terms of like strategy or something.
Yeah, I know. Like from just your fighting style, I've always liked how you came into fights. You're always the last 3, 4, maybe 5 fights. You were well in shape from when you started out. You seem to get on the right plan where you got lean. You're always pushing the pace. I like how you switch stances a lot to give your opponent different looks. Just in their face, throwing the jab, throwing leg kicks from both sides. I always like that style of yours. And then hearing you last year say that you felt like you had to throw caution into the wind because of the judges' scorecards and how sometimes they'll go the other way. I rewatched your Nascimento fight. I felt like you won it 29-28 because I felt like he didn't do enough when he took you down and you were more aggressive. Do you think that might have played a little part of it and you wanted to move down just to get a new start in your career?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. I feel like I've been robbed by the judges multiple times in UFC, and not just in UFC, throughout my entire career. I've never won a split decision in my life, but I've been in many. I don't, you can watch a fight card and two fights can happen that go the exact same way where you're looking at significant strikes and damage versus control, and the judges favor the strikes in one and the control in the other. There's no consistency. And it's extremely frustrating.
I know when fighters they move up in weight, as you saw John Jones move up to heavyweight, or move down. You've seen fighters move down. What have you done to help you lose the weight in the right way so that it doesn't lose any of your tools in getting in the octagon and performing at your highest rate?
In terms of tools moving down, I mean, really to start a weight cut to 205, like before I do a no sodium and water cut, I really only got to be 220, and I'm there already. So all I did was to not lose muscle, make sure I'm getting an adequate amount of protein. So trying to get like 230 grams of protein at least a day while restricting my calories to somewhere around 3,000. And it's been, honestly, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, like I saw videos of you and how you go high depth into training, especially on the leg days and all the machines at the gym that you're at now. I know you say you go to several gyms to help you cut weight and get ready to fights. Did you have to kind of like up the ante on it a bit to lose more weight, or was it just more about doing more reps and more like being better with eating?
I train at two gyms and I do all my strength and conditioning at one of them. That's at Little Sweatshop in Sherwood
Yeah.
Park, Alberta, here where our MMA team is based out of, the Shaved Bears. I guess I added some volume a bit to my training, like I'm training 3 times a day, a majority of the week. Some of the days are twice, but usually 3 times a day. And just that volume, if you're not eating like an asshole, you're gonna lose weight.
Now they just announced not long ago that your first fight at light heavyweight is going to be next month against Ian Kutalaba. How excited are you getting to get into the octagon next month? And what are your thoughts on your opponent? Have you studied anything, or do you have a certain thought process of what you do going into a fight?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get back in there for sure. It's been a while already. Certainly not as long of a break as it was last time, thankfully. In terms of fighting Iwan Kutalaba, I mean, I know he's a dangerous guy. He's wild. He pushes the pace, and I think that this fight is going to be really exciting. I tell people it's going to be fight of the night, but I don't think it's going to last long enough for it to be that.
Yeah, the first thing that I thought of when they announced it was that first round is going to be crazy. And if somehow the first round ends and you guys go longer, I feel very confident in you because one of your biggest strengths is your cardio. You just seem to push the pace the whole fight. You seem to manage it. And one of his weaknesses is he puts a little too much into the first round and then he starts to tire out a little bit. Is that something that you have thought about and you know that you got to use your cardio to your advantage?
I certainly can use the cardio to my advantage, although Kutalaba has good cardio. He just, like you said, he puts a lot of eggs into that first round basket.
Yeah.
He is smarter, though he makes mistakes, as we all do, but he is smarter than people give him credit for. And he will start to rely more on wrestling once he gets tired or if he does get hurt, despite the fact that he comes in usually pretty punch heavy in earlier on. It's it's a good fight, man, and I can't even throw out a prediction. Like somebody can certainly get the other out of there in round one. But yeah, should it the longer it goes, I would think that it would start to swing definitely in my favor.
Yeah, how has your fight team handled prepping you for this fight? I know each fight goes, and then you have a different game plan for getting ready for it, a different fighter, a different weight class, a different time. What have they done to kind of change the game for you getting ready for this one, knowing that you're going down in weight class, you're fighting somebody with a certain skill, mainly power and wrestling. What have they designed for you to train?
Well, I've had focuses, I guess, on game plan type stuff, but I'm not really going to reveal those in any
Yeah.
interviews. I have appropriate training partners for it, and I'm putting in the work, and you'll see soon.
One of the things I've noticed in the past couple of years, which is a great thing, is the fight game in Canada. You're getting a lot of guys coming down from Canada. You got one of my favorite guys of late, Mike Malott. He's come down, and they're just making this big impact on the fight scene. How have you felt about that? Know that you're actually one of the guys, other than GSP, of course, being the big name of the past. You've been one of those guys to come lately that's putting their footprint on the UFC. How does it feel that there's more guys coming out than there have been in the past?
I don't think there's very many Canadians right now. I don't know how many there are, but there's only around 10. And
Yeah,
I don't know about like in the UFC. I mean, right now,
yeah,
there's some other ones doing well abroad. Like I know Jeremy Kennedy is doing really good in
yeah.
Bellator and uh, PFL. There's some other Canadians like Aubin Mercier and um, Martinez from Grand Prairie. But yeah, in UFC, there's a handful of us, and you're right. Mike Malott's doing good. He's on a win streak, and he might be the only one of the boys, anyways, that's on an actual win streak. I mean, shit. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm, making a footprint or leaving a mark or anything like that. I'm just out here. I'm happy to represent Canada, and hopefully, I continue to do it for a long, long time.
Yeah, you mentioned OAM. He had a great showing in the PFL last year, making it to the finals. That's a great thing for all the Canadian fighters to know that you can have somebody to make it that far into a tournament there. But let's kind of transition. I want to get your input. You're from Edmonton, of course. Do you root for the Edmonton Oilers at all? And do you follow them?
I don't actively follow hockey a lot, but I'm rooting for the Oilers whenever they're playing. Of course, the city's happier when they're winning, and looks like they're going to make the playoffs this year. So, um, I yeah, I'm always cheering for them, man.
Yeah, you look at that city, just rich in hockey history. You had Wayne Gretzky there, Mark Messier. This is the first time in probably over like 20 years that that team has been, well, yeah, almost 20 years that that team has been this good since they made it to the Stanley Cup back in when I believe it was 2000. And for them to have something like that, because that's really one of the only big sports up there in Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, I know they were the greatest team there quite a while ago. Like you mentioned with Gretzky and Messier and stuff. Yeah, it's been a long time since they were in a Stanley Cup final, but they made the playoffs last year, and like I said, the city's always buzzing and exciting when they're doing well. So hopefully, hopefully this is a year where they get even a little bit farther.
Now let's backtrack to, of course, you started MMA. I want to get like a little bit of a history lesson from you on how you got started in the sport and how did you get to the point where you're at now, where you're in the UFC.
Uh, so I did karate growing up from when I was 11 to when I was like 19. I liked watching UFC in high school. I wanted to fight. I took a fight when I was 21, um, fluked out and won. I moved here after my second pro fight to Edmonton in 2013. So I've been living here for almost 10 years now, and I've been fighting for over 10. Many steps along the way, man, but that's a very brief overview.
Yeah, of course. So we talked about it before. You've been a pro for almost 10 years now for
Over 10.
all, yeah, for all but like a handful at heavyweight. We mentioned the one at lightweight, a couple at catchweight. You fought a lot of good talent there. And then to segue that into the fact that you're in light heavyweight now, I look at that division and I feel like it's kind of coincidental. I feel like ever since John Jones moved up the heavyweight, that division has gotten so much richer and better with all the talent there. You look at the names like Jamal Hill, you look at Magomed Ankalaev, just a couple names that have joined that top 15 since he has left. Has that been something for you to be like, oh, I like the fact that I get all this different talent to work with, there's a lot that I can do with it.
I feel like the heavyweight division is very rich right now too. I think that I think heavyweight's probably the strongest it's been. So I'm not looking at this division like, oh, I'm excited because there's a some sort of depth the division I was in didn't have. You're naming big names,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm not in the top 15 in either weight class, so it really doesn't matter, right? I'm here to fight whoever, and truly, I do not care.
When you look at all those names, is there anybody that stands out that you would want to fight in the future, or are you just like, I'm focused on Kudalaba right now? Then once I get through that, then I'll worry about who's next.
Yeah, I am focused on Kudalaba, obviously, and I have no clue as to who could be next. Like I said, I really don't care. That kind of speculation is fun for the fans, and that's what they love to do. And I couldn't give less of a shit.
How's your next month gonna be with the fight only that far away? Like when you look at it, when you book the fight, it's usually a couple months out. Like how has that been for you? I should say, because when you look at 3, 4 years ago, like fights would at least be 3 months in advance, 3 or 4 fights in advance, and then you might only fight 2 times in the year because they wanted you to have that much of a camp fight camp. But now it seems like things are going down. You get fighters taking it on 2 weeks notice, 3 weeks notice, for 4 weeks notice. They're starting to do less of a camp. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you thrive on having any amount of time to train, or do you need a certain amount of time to prep for a fight?
Depends where I'm at. Sometimes I'm training like I have a fight, and then I take a short notice fight. I've been good for that in the past. I've done that many, many times in my career. It's something I'm kind of known for. I think the difference is just the strength of schedule of the UFC. There's so many cards that there's just more opportunities for guys to step in on short notice. This fight wasn't short notice. I had I think 9 weeks, excuse me, notice or something like that for the fight. So
And then to piggyback off of it, I know, of course, with you in general, you've had long stretches where you've had a fight booked, and then it's either got canceled or rescheduled. When you're trained for a fight and then it falls through, and then you gotta reschedule it, and then possibly reschedule it with another opponent, how do you deal with that from a training standpoint? And then do you have to start from scratch all over again to prep, or is it kind of let's just tweak it a little bit to depend on who we're fighting?
it's not like you have to relearn everything you're training, right?
Yeah,
Like you just if you're in shape and you're I have 30 fights. Like I know how to fight. So I mean, I'll work on game plan stuff and specific positions that I need to sharpen up and everything. But a fight's a fight, you know, unless you're fighting some insane specialist who is
yeah.
so good at one particular thing and you knew you needed to drill that. But even then, if you have a month, like you're not going to get, I don't know who's a good example. Like maybe, maybe you were fighting Husam Palhares back in the day and you knew he was going to attack your legs, right? Like he is that,
Yeah.
the heel hook guy. And you're not going to get as good as him at heel hooks. It's impossible. He's been doing it for God knows how long, and he's just one of the best at it in the world. Well, you're going to have to figure out the best way you think you're going to be able to deal with it. And how long does that take? I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the longer the better, but if you have a month and you drill that every day, how you think you're going to be able to defend it, then I guess Godspeed. I don't know. For me, when I had those fights canceled, I think you're referring to last year,
Yeah.
December of 2021, I had a fight fall through due to like COVID canceled the fight with Pavlovich. So that fight fell through. And then I didn't get a fight until April, which was supposed to be with Nascimento. And then I got injured and I had to pull out due to injury for the first time in my career, which really sucked. And then I didn't get to fight Nascimento still, but didn't get to fight until September.
Yeah.
So, you know, for you, you're thinking of redoing a training camp or changing the way you're training for a different opponent and stuff like that. And for me, I'm thinking of, holy fuck, I haven't made an income in over a calendar year. That's what I care about. I'll fight whoever and I'm ready for it. It sucks when fights get canceled and due to extenuating circumstances and I'm not able to make any money for long durations. That sucks.
Yeah, looking at it from afar, you're right with that. But then you look at it, it's like it seems like with how the UFC, well, not UFC, but MMA in general has progressed into this big thing. Back then, it was more so a lot of the guys had that one type specialist where they were very good at one thing and then they excelled at it. But now everybody is learning two or three skill sets at a time, and it becoming more difficult to have to just hone on one thing. But then you're right. The more you go at it, the easier it gets because you said it yourself. You fought 30 times, so you probably had your own thing just in your head of I need to do this, I need to do that, and then you really probably just say the fighter that you're going up against isn't a grappler anymore. Maybe they're a striker. You might just tweak it a little bit to be ready for that.
You can have a game plan for a guy, but you have the skill set you already have. You can
Yeah,
get better and sharper at some things, but you're not going to become an expert in anything you're not an expert in for one particular fight. If it was that easy, everybody would look at every single fight and just go be able to beat them. Oh, he's not good at this. Well, I'll just go become a great wrestler. I'll just become a great striker, whatever specific. Oh, he doesn't do good in this position on the ground. I'm going to get really dominant there in jiu-jitsu. It's not how it works. So figure out a game plan and figure out how to best execute it within your skill set. That's all you can do.
Before we get going, I know you got busy things to do, get game planning for Ian Kudalaba, but how do you feel going into this fight, and then how much longer do you feel like you can compete at a high level for?
I feel good going into this fight. I'm excited to fight. It's been a while, and I'm ready. I'm chomping at the bit, and I want to get paid. So, fight can't come soon enough, man. I'm ready to go. How long do I think I can keep fighting at a high level for? You got to ask the UFC, man. It's not up to me. I feel like I'm getting better still, and I have a lot to offer. I'm not that old yet, so hopefully it's a while. But life comes at you fast. You don't know. I could be done in a year, or I could fight till I'm in my early 40s. I don't know, and that's the uncertainty that comes with the job.
Before we wrap things up, are there any sponsors or anybody that you want to shout out or thank?
I'll thank my coaches, Jeff Montemuro and Pedro Noda and Roger Alves, and my sponsors being PPS, that's Paul Pedal Services, and Premier Built Garages, and Element Chiropractic. So thanks to those guys.
We wish you the best of luck next month in your fight on UFC Fight Night against Ian Kutalaba. And thanks for coming on to the Cage Sessions with me.
Yeah, have a good day, man. Thanks.
You too. Have a good day. Once again, that is UFC light heavyweight Tanner Boser coming on the Cage Sessions with me. I want to thank him so much for coming on. Wish him the best of luck. Tune in every week for another session of Cage Sessions on Cage by IQ. That wrap things up with today's interview. Have a good day, everybody, and have a good fight week.